record. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so we are now recording. So again, good morning. I'd like to introduce myself. I know it's a little hard to see me. I'm Valerie Reese. I'm the program manager for the Medical Resource Office. Again, I really appreciate all stakeholder feedback. So I'm so glad to see so many people on the call this morning. I'm going to go ahead and have Charles, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, Charles Carpenter. I am the PIO and Chief Legislative Affairs here at the Commission, and previously the MRO Program Manager.
Thank you. And Keita, I'm excited for Keita to announce herself. Or introduce herself.
My name is Keita Coker. I'm the news specialist here with MRO.
So we do have a new team member, which is wonderful. And then we do have Lisa Paget as well on the line. She also is with the ICA. Lisa, is there anything you would like to say?
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm one of the deputy directors, and we greatly appreciate all of your feedback and for attending this morning.
And, I think we're going to go ahead and close the door just so you guys don't get a lot of background noise. Yes. Thank you, Joseph. And I think we're going to go ahead and turn up the volume as well. Okay, how is that volume now? Does it sound a little better? Wonderful. Okay, thank you. So today we're kind of continuing the discussion from our last 8/20/25 meeting. I do want to let everyone know that the MRO did do some research on the information we were given about prescription topicals. We did hear stakeholders let us know that they felt like there were some issues in this area. So on our website, we did have a firm that Myers and Stauffer, they went ahead and researched some data for us. And if you go onto our MRO webpage, we do have the data along with the white paper. So has anyone on the call, has anyone been able to read through the information?
Yes.
Great. And for those of you that haven't seen the documents, they are online. So you're welcome to read through those. And I'm also going to go over some of the data this morning. For any of those that have had time to read through the information, is there any comments, suggestions, anything you'd like to bring up in regards to the research?
This is Adam Fowler with MyMatrix. I did have a chance to skim through the consultant's research probably a week or so ago. I think they're pretty spot on in terms of the data, in terms of the issues they brought out with topical medications and the high variance in average wholesale prices. We would probably, if we get into it later on, have some recommendations about how to potentially address those. I don't think any solution is perfect, but we did have some ideas I think we submitted in writing earlier this week. But we definitely agree with it being an issue still in terms of the wide variability in cost of certain topical medications, especially when you look at these higher priced topicals that have alternatives that are much cheaper.
Thank you, Adam. And I did have somebody in the chat ask where the information is online. Are you guys able to see? They probably can't see the screen. Let's see. Let me go ahead and share where it's at. So my apologies. I thought I had that up earlier. Yes. Yeah. Let's see. There we go. Okay. So if you go to azica.gov, That's going to be the main ICA webpage. Then you're going to go to divisions. And then when you go to divisions, you're going to go to the medical resource office. And it's kind of towards maybe the middle of the page, middle to a little lower to the end. It's under MRO information. And then what you're going to see is prescription topicals white paper, and then the prescription topicals white paper data. And then we also have our meeting on prescription topicals, and right below it as well, the video. So again, here's where the information is right here. And I do believe, Isabel, you have your hand raised.
Yes, can you hear me?
It's a little low, but yes, we can hear you, but it's a little low.
Okay, I'll try and speak louder. Just with respect to your question about what our thoughts were on the study, I did review it. Thank you for sending that over. My thought on the white paper was that it did a very good job of confirming what was stated in the June meeting by many stakeholders, that we really are seeing a specific set of drugs filled by a small group of providers. So it was nice for the data to confirm what we payers are seeing.
Thank you, Isabel. We appreciate that, your feedback. So what I would like to do is go ahead and bring up Kevin. You feel free to come off mute and speak.
No, I would, as a workers' comp pharmacy services organization, we have seen similar data in other states, and as Adam said, we have seen how other states handle this. So if there is, if there's anything we can do to kind of bring examples, I could go back and have my folks run some data for Arizona, but it's probably going to be the same as what we have seen in the study. So I would agree that it's the 80-20 rule, right? 20% is causing the noise versus the 80%. So I would agree.
Thank you, Kevin. Would anyone else like to comment? Okay, so for those that haven't had time to see the data, I'm going to go ahead and bring up the Excel information, and then we'll kind of review that. Also, too, after this meeting, feel free to digest, what's being said from everybody, and you can always reach out to us. You can send us emails, or give us some feedback. For those that still are processing the information. Let's see, cancel. I'm trying to get my. I want to. Let's see, maybe if I do that, and then there we go. Okay, sorry, it's taken a little bit, a minute for me to work through this here. Oh, I feel like it's so, oh, there we go. Okay, I wanted to make sure you guys could actually see it. Okay, so this is what's on our website. So this is the data that was looked at to write the white paper. So again, feel free to go onto our website, our main page, and take a look at this. We did hear from stakeholders that they feel that you guys feel like there is an issue. So we went ahead and did our research on this information, and I highlighted some of the areas that I thought you can really see the discrepancy. So if you look at this, and the methodology too of how they did the white paper, that's also in the article, or in the document as well. But if you look here, you can see the GPI, generic name. Then this is a prescription. Then they went ahead and gave you the maximum average wholesale price. the organization or the manufacturer, and then they went ahead and put the minimum average wholesale price. And then here you can see the difference. So I would say just for this diclofenac, the sodium solution, 1.5%, the maximum is 10.90 is what they're showing, and then $1.70 for minimum. And then here you're seeing that ratio between the two is going to be, and it's a little hard for me to see this as well, is 6:27. So we are seeing all the highlighted areas. Looks like there's a discrepancy from the minimum and then the maximum. And if, as we scroll down, you can, no, not like that. Let's see, let me go here. There we go. This is probably a little easier for you. Oh, you guys can't see that. Okay. Trying to figure out how to scroll down if this isn't.
Yeah, just scroll on your actual sheet.
Oh, got it. Okay. Thanks, Charles. Okay, so I just hope you guys are able to see as I'm scrolling down. But I went ahead and highlighted the areas that I thought had a larger discrepancy here. And so really what we want to discuss or get feedback from stakeholders is, okay, you guys had brought this to our attention. We did do some research. We do see that there's some areas that are of concern. What can we do? What can the ICA do to address what we're seeing? And so we would love feedback on what you all may think might be something we can do as an organization to help with this issue. All right, Kevin, feel free to come off mute.
I was waiting to put my hand up, so I didn't know if anybody else was going to go in front of me. I had a question. In these particular topicals, did the study go back and look at lower cost alternatives? Some of these may have similar lower costs that are not private label. Some of these may have something, it's not a 1.5%, maybe it's a 1% or 2%, so that there is an alternative that the physician in their, obviously, their decision, or the pharmacist in their decision, can offer as a lower cost alternative. And I think if they didn't do that, that would be a good key to kind of compare. Now, it's not directly apples to apples, but it is something that other states have done. And when you kind of do that and look at what you see, kind of that crosswalk, it kind of gives you the idea of what other states have done in putting like caps, right? Let's say it's like $250 or $300, because a lot of the lower cost alternatives are very, very inexpensive as compared to your $1,900 one that's being prescribed and dispensed. So I don't know if they did that in the study, and if they didn't, that may be something to look at.
And Kevin, that was not included in the study.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, good morning. This is Lisa Ann Hurt Forsyth with the American Association of Payers, Administrators, and Networks. Just had a couple comments that I wanted to make on behalf of our member work comp PBMs. As I think Kevin and Adam alluded to, our organization is in favor of strict dollar caps on a categorical basis. We would like to make sure that those categories are very well defined, so that when we are implementing the fee schedule, are very clear on what is going into what category. But we think if the state were to adopt strict dollar caps, it would really help to cut down on some of the abuses that we're seeing. We would encourage the state to steer away from use of state-specific codes for that purpose. That just is difficult to implement and makes it such that work comp is out of parity with commercial health and other systems. We noticed that, as Kevin was saying, we've seen situations where a very low cost alternative might be available at like a 1% instead of 1.5% at a very, very high level. So I agree with Kevin that I think it would be great for the state to look at that and consider maybe where it's not, as Kevin mentioned, an apples to apples comparison, but certainly therapeutically equivalent, and offer those alternatives for doctors. We would appreciate consideration of that by the state as well. Last point I will make is with respect to other states, we have looked at Colorado, Georgia, Michigan, Mississippi, and South Carolina that have all had taken a crack at this and have tried to put dollar caps in with variations on a theme. And as Kevin mentioned, we as an organization are more than happy to provide the state with that information from other states if you'd like to look at their language, just to get some ideas of how other states are tackling the problem. Thank you.
Thank you for your feedback. Adam?
Thanks. I would basically second what Lisa Ann just mentioned. Just for context, when we look at, and for context, we're a pharmacy benefit manager for workers' comp payers in the state and elsewhere. But when we look at our data, there's really two scenarios where topical medications can become an issue in terms of cost. One is where there is a 1-for-1 match between a high cost, high dollar topical medication and other generic or therapeutic equivalent alternatives that are much cheaper. And it just so happens that that particular manufacturer, even though it's the same ingredient makeup, same strength, everything else, has a higher average wholesale price. That's the one scenario, and that's kind of the 1-for-1 scenario. The other one is the one that Kevin alluded to, is where it is not 1-for-1 generically or 1-for-1 therapeutically equivalent, but is a very similar medication with just a slight change potentially to the strength, or perhaps it's combined in a kit form and a adhesive tape or is included with it, and then the cost essentially skyrockets because it's a new NDC, and that manufacturer has with it, along with it, a new average wholesale price that may be widely disparate from the similar medication of a slightly different strength, or a similar medication and a tape, for example, in a kit that got combined together. If you were to purchase them separately, they could be much cheaper. So those are really the two scenarios we've seen. And at the end of the day, we've thought about and kind of contemplated alternatives to fee schedule language using what other states have done or other approaches that have been proposed in other states. And we do think, similar to what Lisa Ann mentioned, that strict dollar caps on topical medications, maybe by category, breaking them up from, for example, a patch versus not a patch, like some states have done. But definable categories, objective categories, is probably the most efficient way and the most, for lack of better terms, implementable way by stakeholders to adhere to and comply with, to help rein in the costs.
Thank you, Adam. I was trying to see, I believe, Kevin, you may have put some information in the chat. Did you want to come off mute and add to anything?
Yeah, so they did take one reference, and I missed it, and I apologize. But one of the things that the study did on page 6 is they did mention the analysis of, and it's table 1, clinically similar products, different formulations and GPIs. So they had a lidocaine patch, 5%, NDC GPI, and the AWP patch, one patch is $2.60. And then they had a lidocaine patch, 5%, and an adhesive sheet kit, is what Adam said, different GPI and NDC than the previous mentioned medication. And that AWP per patch was $106.66. So that kind of goes to support what Adam said. They did talk about that issue. I don't know how, it doesn't look like they did anything else than just kind of one example. And so when you look at the data on the Excel sheet, there may be multiple examples of that similar issue they described in table 1 of the study. So that kind of supports potentially the activity what other states have done, because they kind of say, hey, there's one here that's $260 and there's one here that's $106. They're relatively similar, and I'm not a doctor or a pharmacist, so I don't know. I don't want to speak clinically, but if the difference in price for 30 is $3,000 versus $60, then I think there's a potential for some cost savings there, and maybe kind of an authorization for anything that's outside of really medically necessary.
Thank you, Kevin. Is there any other thoughts, suggestions? Or possible questions on anything that hasn't been asked?
This is Joseph Hunt, Corbell Corporation, also a pharmacist. This may be, I'm not really sure how to word it, but what about investigation into the potential relationships between the practitioners and the pharmacies? Because what we're seeing is the same 4 or 5 high cost, high profit prescribed by the same physician for every injured worker. And conveniently, these prescriptions are all sent to the same pharmacy. Has there been any discussion about that and investigation into that? And forgive me, I missed the first meeting, so it may have been talked about in the first meeting, so I apologize.
So this is Charles Carpenter. That has not occurred within the medical resource office. However, that is something that you can submit. We do have our fraud unit that recently opened up. And if you feel that you have enough evidence per se, or if you have anything that you want to do, there is an online form that you can complete. It's in our, if you go to our homepage, azica.gov, you would go to our legal division and there's a form there that you can complete.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, would anyone else like to give any suggestions, questions? All right, Isabel.
Hi, yes. I don't know if the ICA has access to the WCRI reports, but in 2024, they did issue an interstate variation on workers' comp drugs, speaking on specifically these groups of drugs. And to Lisa Ann's point, they studied a lot of the states that have already established caps on these medications, and they are seeing a downward trend on this drug spend. So if you haven't had a chance to review that study, I highly recommend. It is a study you have to purchase, and I could send the link to that if needed.
Thank you, Isabel. We do have access to the WCRI, so we appreciate that information. So thank you. Okay, is there anyone else would like to come off mute and give any suggestions or questions? And thank you all, because this has been wonderful. I really appreciate you all asking questions and providing, your feedback. This stakeholders really help make the difference in, things we look at and research. So we really appreciate you all being on this call. Isabel?
Yes, sorry. I just actually did think of a question. In reading the white paper, they have, recommendations, and I wanted to know what the thoughts of the ICA were. One of them, I think, was giving formulary preference to drugs with ANAVAC, and then the other one was, I think it had to do with providers. I don't remember off the top of my head. I'm sorry, but I was just eager to know what the ICA's thoughts were on the white paper's recommendations on how to address the problem.
It's important for the ICA to definitely do the research, and then stakeholder feedback is really important. We do need the support of stakeholders. So right now we're still gathering all the information. So everything that's been said on this call and the previous call, we still just really need to look at all the information and see, and then we will, for anything to be done, we're going to have stakeholder support as well. So that's going to be important as well with that. So not only comments, suggestions, things like that, we're going to also need support too as we gather information and kind of look at avenues. But we do listen to, everything that's said on the calls and or emailed and see, what routes we can go, and if we have the support as well. So at this time, we don't have anything to let you know in that area yet, because we're still looking at all the research and the stakeholder feedback. Oh, and Brian?
Thank you. Sorry, I joined a little late. I was hung up on another call, and so I'm kind of getting here at the tail end of this. My only question is, will the recording of this call be available at some point in time so I can catch up, because I got way behind?
Yes, the recording will be available. If you go to the MRO webpage, we do have the last meeting. We do have the white paper data, and we actually have the white paper on there as well. And then as soon as we get this recording, it will be placed on our website as well. So anyone can go back and look at the videos, and then also look at any of the information as well. And then you're always welcome to reach out to us, for suggestions, questions, concerns following this meeting.
Perfect. Thank you.
And Kevin?
Yeah, I was just following up on Brian's. Is there a time frame by which, if we provide some follow-up information, that you would like it by?
I would say as soon as possible would be wonderful.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. All right, gonna keep it open too if there's anyone else that would like to give us any suggestions, comments. And I know earlier Keita had put in the chat, if anyone can go ahead and, or if everyone can put in their first, last name and their organization, that's how we take attendance. And again, if you were forward this information from a colleague, you will want to go onto our azica.gov and then go to our mailing list. Anytime we have stakeholder meetings or there's just new information with the claims division as well, that we'll send out information via constant contact. So that's how this one came out. So I would highly recommend to do that. Our proposal for our fee schedule will also be on our website as well once we get to that point. So keeping tabs on that MRO website, I feel like is a great thing, to get information on where we're at, and then to also be on our email. Now, is there any other, in regards again to this subject, the RX topicals, any other suggestions, concerns, comments? All right, Jacqueline.
Yeah, hi, my name's Jackie. I'm calling in from Andover, Massachusetts. I just had a question as far as some of the minimum AWP labeler names. Has any vetting gone into those manufacturers? Because I know that like for Vitruvius, they have a very limited supply of available products.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the full question. A little bit of it got a little low.
Sorry about that. So for the manufacturers that are producing some of the AWP pricing, they're not all kind of available. I know that for like the Vitruvius Therapeutics, they have a very limited supply of products that they stock. So I'm just wondering if that data was vetted as current when they reviewed the paper.
So we weren't able to actually get the manufacturer, like their ability to produce those medications. We just looked at the published AWPs that were out there. And of course, that's something, again, as we go through this entire process, please send us that data, send us that information. Because as we move forward, all of that will be taken into consideration with whatever happens with our next fee schedule update. So thank you for that. And again, we do want to hear those kind of things because we want to make sure that whatever action we take or whatever we do, we're taking those things into account because we have written our fee schedule to make sure that, our providers, healthcare providers, DME providers, our providers don't lose money by providing services to injured workers.
Excellent, thank you. I will do that.
All right. Any other comments, questions, suggestions? And again, this isn't the final time you have to come off mute to let us know. Again, if you can send any information, as Charles had mentioned, as soon as possible to MRO, that would be wonderful. So we could start, we can continue our research and looking through all the information and also things that we need to keep in mind if, say, we did get that support and we're able to move forward with a change or a protocol. Okay, well, if there's no final comments, concerns, questions, we'll go ahead and conclude the meeting. I do want to say again, thank you so much for taking the time. We do appreciate all stakeholder feedback. Everything you guys give us really helps us to look at, can we do something, should we put something in place? So, we hope that you guys do feel heard. We did hear that, there's an issue. We've done some research. So again, thank you all for all your questions, comments, and concerns. We do appreciate it. So if there's nothing more, we're going to go ahead and end the call.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.